I know you tell the players to approach every game the same, but do you see them a little more fired up on a week like this?
Uh, I mean, you always get excited when you play, not only just North Carolina, but in these events, period. You know what type of excitement you're going to have at the arena, those types of things. But when you're at Kentucky, I guess you're used to playing these types of games. So, but, you know, it's always good to play against these opponents because the coaches don't have to motivate. If the coaches have to motivate you for these types of games, then you're going to be in trouble. So, you know, I think the guys are excited about playing.
How has Ugo looked in practice, and when he comes back, what are the kind of realistic expectations immediately for him, seeing as how he's been out so long?
I mean, that's a good question because we don't know ourselves. He's been pretty good in practice. You know, Ugo played last year. I think it helps him a little bit more than Aaron just coming in the first year. So Ugo has a pretty good idea about what we're doing and what we're asking him to do. He's been good this week. We're looking forward to getting him out there. I think he brings a different presence in terms of physicality and again, defense. You know, that's the things he does, defensive rebounding. So we're looking forward to it just as much as you guys are. So, but he's done well in practice. You know, he's a kid that picks up things pretty quickly, and he got some experience. He was here last year, so he understands a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do.
What's the process like for the other players when guys have been out like that, trying to get them used to working into the rotation and practice and then carrying that over to a game?
Actually, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Because you're used to playing with certain guys, they do certain things, and all of a sudden, boom, you thrust a couple guys in there. But that's what practice is about. We've been very fortunate to have some breaks in between the games we played the last couple of weeks, so it makes it a little easier. But it's still going to take some time. You know, it's not going to be easy just putting them out there and think the guy's going to be able to do it. You know, how guys set screens, where guys going to be in certain areas. You know, those are things, you know, team chemistry that you've been working on and you haven't had them. So now all of a sudden you put them in. So, you know, if y'all think all of a sudden we're going to be this super well-oiled team because he got in, that always takes some time. So, but like I said, he's a kid that actually I think easier to fit in than actually Aaron was because he understands a little bit what we did in the previous season and how we do certain things. But it's going to take a little bit of time. All of a sudden we got these big guys. We haven't had them before. And it's going to be a little different.
Kind of speaking to that, were you surprised Aaron played 29 minutes and was effective, or at least it seemed like he was effective for those 29 minutes, even though it was only his second game? And
yeah, he got his feet wet, though.
Yeah.
And I think he got his feet wet in that first game. And now I think he knew what to expect. And he played well. I mean, that was it. He played well. We kept him out there. If he didn't play well, we probably would have subbed him a little bit more. But he played well. So he got his minutes because he was out there. He played well. He fit in. He did the things we asked him to do. Got a little tired, but he played well. But I think the week before helped him. Although we lost, I think it helped him. His expectations of, okay, when I go in the game, this is what I need to do. So, and again, the extra week of practice. You know what I mean? Being able to go from Saturday to Saturday without playing again and him having a better understanding of what we're trying to do.
Are there any benefits or disadvantages to playing back-to-back weeks in NBA arenas? Does that create any type of challenge, or is it just a basketball court's a basketball court?
To be honest with you, Rupp is like an NBA arena. So, I mean, we play in an NBA arena every night. So I don't think that's a problem. So I would say no, because Rupp is as close as you're going to get as an NBA arena as a college arena. You know what I mean? So, I wouldn't say that should be an issue.
Coach, moving back to the bigs, obviously different players, but the last time we saw a big of maybe Baycott's skill set was Dickinson, and he had a career game. So obviously teams are a little bit different now, but what do you see from Armando? What makes him good, and how are you guys going to be able to better handle him compared to when you guys played Dickinson?
Hopefully we better handle him because we got two guys that can match up against him. You know, that wasn't the case against Dickinson. I mean, he's very similar. I think Dickinson probably a little bit better offensively. But Baycoat, very powerful. You know, his game is all power. You're not going to necessarily see him step out and shoot threes. It's going to be all around the basket. He's going to mush you a little bit. We got to do a good job against him. We can't let him control the game by just out-physicaling us. So I think that's a big part of it with him. Carolina's a little different. He's a better runner than Dickinson. Carolina likes to play a lot in transition. So that's one of the things we got to look at a little bit too.
Aside from transition, how much have you been able to watch them this season? What other things do they do well on the court?
I mean, that's a big part of what they do is transition. R.J. Davis, very good offensive player. We've played against them in the past. They haven't changed much. But you know, I mean, Carolina's Carolina. We're not ready to play. The biggest thing is if you don't stop them in transition, you got no chance. Then you got to play good half-court defense. But Baycott and Davis are two really good players for them. And you know, we got to make sure they don't really control the game. And if we do that, then we make our chances a little bit better.
Coach Cal keeps talking about how Rob Dillingham, he plays very well, but then he'll go and make the hardest play and make a mistake. Not necessarily necessary, but he's trying to, I guess, what goes into balancing out someone who's still trying to find the way to make an easier play as opposed to making a hard play?
Well, we've been watching a lot of film with him, individually, just him, and making him understand, you know, Cal gives him a lot of freedom to be able to play because he's a good player in that respect. But like I always say to him, don't abuse your privileges. And when you start abusing your privileges, then your privileges gets taken away. But you know, he's a really good talent in terms of scoring the ball, and he's young. So he's going to have his ups and downs. Our whole thing to him is just continually just keep getting better because he's a great asset for us off the bench, as you all know. He's excited, he can score. But, you know, like most guys, it's a learning curve. And he just, you know, he's still learning it. It's still early. We're getting ready to get in the league season. But I actually think he's actually been playing better and better and better. So getting a little bit better at what we're doing. But we just got to stay on him about keeping after it.
You said it's still early. Obviously, you'd like to see a win Saturday. But besides that, what are some things you'd like to see from this team or maybe certain individuals?
I mean, the biggest thing is going to be our adjustment with adding the players because I think we're going to play a little bit different in terms of our speed. And when you have the big guys, do you post up more? You know what I mean? Do you have a little bit more of a post presence? You know, you guys all love it because y'all think we're shooting all these three-point shots and everybody comments on it. But, you know, when you get guys, you got to have some balance. If you're really going to be good, you got to have some balance. You got to be able to score inside. You got to be able to score outside. So I think that's one of the things going forward. That's going to be our biggest thing, and also to our defense. We got to be better defensively, and I think the big guys will help us out a little bit. We'll have more rim protection and those types of in those areas. So I would say just adding those guys and having a better understanding what each guy needs to do, what his role is on the team, and defensively, just putting it all together defensively.
Those three-point attempts are still pretty high for a Cal team, but they have gone down the past few games. Is that by your all's design? Is that just kind of playing with what the other defenses are? They trying to run you off the three-point line more because you shot it so well?
I would if I was playing against us. No, seriously. Yeah. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to get other team credit. So they're looking at it like, you know what? Don't let these guys get in transition. Don't let them shoot threes. Run them off the line. So I think there's a little bit of both of that. But we shoot the ball well. So we're going to shoot them. And if they let us shoot them, we'll shoot them. This team's a good scoring team. Like, I think we score the ball. So when you score the ball, you can shoot it from anywhere. So I think we're a good scoring team. So it doesn't matter whether we're shooting threes, we're shooting twos, we're getting post-ups. I think we can score the ball at any position on the floor. So I think that's the biggest thing right there. I think that's why we score a lot of points. But the last couple of games, if I'm scouting against us, I'm saying don't let them get in transition and shoot three-point shots. So I think the other teams have to play that way.
Coach, you've seen guys expand their games offensively and maybe even defensively, doing things that they weren't doing this summer.
I mean, that's just because of progress of practice. You know what I mean? So I think guys have gotten better, understanding, watching film themselves, understanding what we're trying to do. Like I said, we're young. You know, we're still young. So I think you're going to see incremental improvement. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen all the time. There were no expectations for these guys. Nobody really saw them except for high school. Now you get in college, it's a little bit different. So guys have gotten better, and that's all we can ask from them. Just continue to get better every day in terms of how we approach it, what we're doing, our game plan, all those things like that. So it's a little bit different from the summertime because I think they learned from the summer. You know what I mean? They learned from the summer that, and the competition level has stepped up a little bit. So those are the adjustments they've made. I think they've done pretty well with it.
Coach Calipari said or Calipari, I should say, said in his last press conference that he's got 2 teams now. And he's gonna have to figure out how to coach and play and kind of push them together. But for the players, how are the guards going to handle maybe getting a little bit less minutes, not having all 4 of them on the court at the same time, and kind of having to run with some of these taller guys? How do you think they'll handle kind of the change of the lineups and things like that?
I mean, you want to win, you sacrifice. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. Cal talks about that all the time, right? It's about winning when it's all said and done. So you make the sacrifices. You might not play as much this game. You might not play as much that game. You might play more this game. But if it's all about winning, nobody cares about that. So Cal talked about that all the time because when you have a lot of talent on the team, you have to address those types of things. And he does. That's one of the best things that he does.
With Justin, what can he do? What do you guys want to see him do to kind of maybe take that next step, unlock some more of that, especially attacking potential that he has that we haven't seen as much of?
I think you guys look at Justin different than we do, especially me. This is from myself. I always tell him, he doesn't know what it's mean, but I always tell him you're a Swiss Army knife. You can do a little bit of everything. That doesn't mean you have to score 20. You know what I mean? Your play is great in your versatility. We got on him about his defense. That was one of the things that we thought that he was lacking. Like, you should be a better defensive player. And he played better at Penn. Now, he fouled, so he didn't play as much. But, I don't look at Justin and say, well, he should be this type of scorer. When I look at Justin, I look at him go rebound. I look at him to defend. He makes good passes, get out in transition. So I don't look at him and say, I look at his total box score and not just his points. I want to see him get rebounds. I want to make him see him get assists. I want to see him play good against the other teams forward that we put him on or guard that we put him on. So it's not necessarily his total points. I look at his box score in general.
Is part of that getting on the floor for loose balls, saving the ball out of bounds
Yes.
that Aaron blocked,
Yes.
and starting the pass?
Yes.
Is all that kind of part of
Yes.
identity?
Yes. I think that's what he's good at. I think, like I said, his versatility is what makes him good. Not necessarily how many points he scores or does he shoot the 3 or anything like that. I think when you look at his box score, he's getting 10, 12 points, 5, 6 rebounds, 3, 4 assists, and you see him make plays like diving on the floor, doing that. That's what makes Justin who he is, and not necessarily just total points.
But Trey, has that kind of given you some front court flexibility, things that he did while your bigs were recovering? And what does that kind of add now that they're coming back? How can you expand on that?
With Trey?
Yeah, with Trey.
I think Trey's going to be Trey. Very smart player. So he gives you an opportunity to move him around. Because for him, the adjustment is it's not a big adjustment. You put him at a certain position, he'll know what to do. I think that's the biggest thing that he adds to us. I think he's going to be happy he don't have to guard too many 5s anymore because we play some pretty big guys. But you can put him out there, and he has a great idea of what he's doing. So I think that's the biggest thing that he brings to this team. So we can put him at the 4, we can put him at the 5. We can run offense through him. I mean, again, he's a very versatile player and very smart player also, too. So that really helps us out a lot.
Bruiser, with the bigs back, Cal mentioned moving Jordan Burks back to the 3. Adu has been playing a lot of 4, starting at the 4. Is that a guy you're moving at all, or is he going to stay at the 4?
No, he's been staying at the 4 mostly in practice. We played just Jordan more in the 3 in practice, but Adu's pretty much been playing his regular position.
You mentioned the sacrificing, but he's a guy who obviously played his least amount of minutes with Aaron back. Is he a guy you have to talk to at all since he is a starter and he has played a lot early?
Like I said, Cal addresses that all the time. Just be ready for your time. You be ready. You be ready for your moment. It's going to be games he's going to play a lot, and it goes just because of the matchups. And there's going to be games that he doesn't, just because of the matchups. So, but Dude's been good. You know what I mean? He's giving us some great minutes. I think, with the other guys coming back, it gives us a little bit more length in our bench. So that hopefully that helps us out.
When you play games like this, North Carolina, Kansas, and such, marquee games like this, do you get a chance to appreciate what it means, I guess, in terms of this program, in terms of its overall importance in college basketball, that you play fellow blue bloods almost every year at this time, and what kind of appreciation does it give you for what kind of program this is?
For myself personally, not necessarily, because you're going to play against those teams like that. I'm going to tell you what's different about before I came to work with Cal. He used to always tell me, it's everybody's Super Bowl. And I'd be like, whatever. You know what I mean? Stop, man. Here you go. It's just stuff, right? I'm not trying to hear that. Until you come to work here, you are everybody's Super Bowl. I don't think, other than Saturday, I mean, I haven't been to a place that we played that haven't pretty much had been a sellout. So I think that's what Kentucky brings to the table in terms of that. So when you go up against the Kansas and things like that, you know, those are your expectations. That's what you expect. But I watch some film, and we'll go play a team in the league, and you watch they have their stands, and there's nobody there, and you go there, and everybody's there. So you get prepared for the game, and you see, man, ain't nobody at that game. They're playing against another team in the conference. Then when you go there, it's a white out, a black out, a orange out, whatever out it is when we go to play them. That's the thing that I really got. And I had to give them credit and say, you know what, you're right. We might be everybody's Super Bowl. But not necessarily when you play against the Kansases. I think all the Blue Bloods teams sort of play against each other at some point in time. You have to prove yourself in that respect. But I think I have more respect for when we go to other places that people don't expect that. And we getting their best shot from the fans. Not necessarily always the team, but we're getting their best shot from their fans.
When you get into SEC play and that's the case, do you notice a competitiveness level rise, or do you notice anything different in the guys when they walk into a Thompson Bowling or one of these places?
Well, I'll be honest with you, you love to play in those environments. You know what I mean? It's nothing like playing in an environment whereas, I was a mid-major coach. Man, we play some teams, it was like 500 people in there. You know what I mean? They hear me hollering and screaming at everybody. Like, you want to go somewhere where they don't hear that. And I think that's one of the things that I think you appreciate about that, is that you're going into a good environment. It gets you up to play. Gets the coaches up also too. You know what I mean? So, so you like that as a player. You know what I mean? That you're gonna go into some players and you're gonna have a great environment to play in.
Piggyback off of that question, obviously the conference play just around the corner. How much have you guys been able to catch some of the teams in conference? What's maybe caught your eye early, maybe a surprise heading into next year?
Me myself, I watch a lot of games. I watch a lot of basketball games, especially conference games. But we've had some teams that surprised. We've had some teams that people are a little surprised at their losses. But I think you can look at that all around the country. But the SEC is going to be SEC. When it's all said and done, it's one of the top 2 or 3 conferences in the country. We've had some big wins against some teams. And again, go back to your question about the Blue Bloods. People play against each other all the time. So, but I think the SEC, everybody had high expectations for them. I think the conference is living up to it.
Going down to Atlanta, Somto Cyril is down there. I know you guys have been on him for a while. What did you like about him, especially early in the process, and what kind of college player do you envision him being?
Well, he's big. He's athletic. So, just physicality, you know what I mean? From a high school kid that's going to come into college, you'll see him next year, a big kid. Got some work to do. Got to work on some skill level, but what he brings to the table in terms of athleticism and physicality, I mean, you're not getting that from a high school, from a kid that's coming from high school to college. So I think that's the biggest thing right there. I just think his physicality, block shots, rebounds, runs, I think that's one of the big things. Now, he got to work on some things. Skill level probably got to get a little bit better. But from a physical standpoint, I argue to be the best big guy in the country. So from a physicality standpoint.